You don't know it yet. You're 18 years old, standing on a rifle range in the Georgia heat, and you don't know that what you're about to do will define the next 20 years of your life. The drill sergeant is talking. You're not listening. You're watching the target. A paper silhouette 300 meters downrange, and something inside you goes completely unnaturally calm. The man next to you fires, misses the center mass, adjusts, fires again. You fire once. The round lands exactly where you intended it to. Not close. Exactly. You don't celebrate. You don't flinch. You just rack the bolt and wait for the next command. And that stillness, that complete absence of reaction, is the first thing your platoon sergeant notices. He's standing 20 meters behind you. He doesn't say your name. He writes something down in a small notebook and closes it. You'll never see what he wrote, but it sent you here. The Army classifies you as MOACE 11B, infantry. You learn the M4 carbine the same way every soldier learns it. Drills, repetitions, qualifying tables, cleaning cycles. You qualify expert. The range officer stamps your sheet. You do it again the next month. Expert again and again. But shooting is only what they can see. What they're actually watching is everything else. Whether your hands shake after a near miss, whether you lose focus at hour 3 on a 12-hour exercise, whether you make math errors under stress, whether you can lie in a ditch motionless with insects crawling across your face and still call the wind correctly. You can. Your ASVAB score is 91. GT score 107, vision 20/20, record clean, no incidents, no flags, no history of anything that would make a commander nervous, handing you a weapon and sending you somewhere alone with a mandate to use it without supervision. Your commander calls you into his office. He slides a form across the desk. You sign it without reading the full thing. You probably should have read it. Fort Moore, Georgia. 4:30 hours. There are 47 of you in formation, 47 soldiers who qualified expert, who got the recommendation, who passed the psych screening, who believed they were ready. The cadre instructor walks the line slowly. He's not looking at your face, he's looking at your hands. Whether they're steady, whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth, whether your eyes track him as he moves or stay fixed forward like a man who's already afraid. He stops in front of you, says nothing, moves on. The U.S. Army Sniper course is 7 weeks. Roughly 300 soldiers attempt it each year. Between a third and a half don't finish. The attrition isn't from physical failure alone, though the physical failure is real. A 2-mile run, push-ups, sit-ups, a psychological battery administered by a licensed psychologist who is specifically evaluating your capacity to kill a man you've watched for days through a scope and then carry that home without breaking. But the real filter isn't your body, it's the stalking lane. You learn this on day 4. You're given a sector of terrain, dense Georgia brush, heat that presses down like a hand on your neck. Somewhere in that terrain is an instructor with a spotting scope and binoculars, and his entire job is to find you. You're in your ghillie suit, burlap, netting, local vegetation you harvested yourself and wove in by hand. The internal temperature of the suit in August, Georgia is 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You've been crawling for 3 hours. You have 110 pounds of gear on your back. There are insects inside the burlap against your skin, and you cannot move to address them because movement is the primary target indicator. The instructor is 200 meters away. He hasn't seen you yet. You stop breathing. You wait. You calculate the angle of the sun and whether your barrel will catch it. You look at the vegetation behind you and make sure your silhouette matches. You check your gloves. You check your face paint. One wrong move ends it. Not the stalk, everything. You inch forward, millimeter by millimeter. The insects, the heat, the weight. You settle into your final firing position. You range the target. You dial your elevation. You fire 2 rounds. The instructor sweeps his binoculars. He's looking right at you. He doesn't see you. You pass. The failure rate around you was 40%. You watch soldiers with 3 years of infantry experience, with combat deployments, with expert qualifications, walk off the stalking lane in defeat. Some of them were better shots than you. They couldn't disappear. You can. The Army stamps your record with ASIB-4, Sniper. It's a designation earned by fewer than 300 soldiers per year across the entire force. It goes in your file next to your name, and it changes quietly and permanently the kinds of orders you will receive for the rest of your military career. You return to your unit, you are assigned to the battalion sniper section. 4 to 6 two-man teams. You are the junior man on a team. Your partner has 2 deployments. He doesn't talk much. He hands you a scope and points at a hillside and says, "Tell me what's on that ridge line." You look. You describe what you see. He shakes his head. Tells you to look again. Tells you what you missed. This will happen every day for 3 months. Because the spotter is not the sniper's assistant. The spotter is the operations intelligence engine. You carry the spotting scope, the rangefinder, the advanced ballistic computer, and the dope book. A physical log of every shot your team has ever taken. Distance, elevation, wind speed, direction, gust variance, temperature, humidity, altitude, ammunition lot number, result. The dope book is the most important document you will ever carry. It is also the most dangerous, because someday, if someone captures it, they'll know exactly how you think. You learn to read wind from physical indicators, the angle of smoke, the movement of grass versus the movement of dust, mirage rising from heated ground. You learn the mil-dot formula, target size in meters times 1000 divided by target size in mils equals distance in meters. You calculate bullet drop, you calculate drift. You learn to make corrections in fractions of angular measurement that translate between the spotter's observation and the shooter's adjustment. Left 2/10, up 1, send it. First round hit at 600 meters is the standard. A 90% first round hit rate is the expectation. The average soldier hits a man-sized target 10% of the time at 300 meters. You are no longer an average soldier. You are the most expensive round in the inventory. Not in dollars, but in hours. What you represent has been calculated before. In other wars, 17 cents per kill versus $23,000 per kill for a conventional infantry action. That ratio is what you are now. Think about that the next time someone calls it a job. The flight lands, the ramp drops. The heat hits you like a wall, but it's not the Georgia heat. Georgia is survivable. This is something else. A heat that lives in the ground, that radiates from the pavement and from the walls and from the air simultaneously. Or it's cold, mountain cold, the kind that gets into your gear at 0200 and stays there. Afghanistan, Iraq, the specific geography doesn't matter yet. What matters is, this is not the stalking lane. There is no instructor with binoculars who will wave you off if you fail. There is no evaluation form. There is no second attempt. Your team is inserted at night. You move to your hide site, a rooftop, a bombed out building, a hillside, and you establish your position. You range the key terrain features. You record them in the dope book. You establish your sectors of fire, and then you wait. In training, a stalk lasted hours. Here, a hide might be occupied for 24 hours, 48, 72. You cannot leave the position. You cannot stand. You urinate into a bottle. You eat cold rations without moving your upper body. Your partner sleeps in 2-hour shifts and you watch. And when his shift comes, you sleep in 2-hour shifts while he watches. And neither of you sleeps well because you are 2 men alone in a landscape where the wrong footstep means the wrong people learn your position. On the 3rd day, your spotter calls it. At 11 o'clock. Doorway. Moving. You find him in your scope. And here is the thing they cannot train you for. The thing the movies leave out because it doesn't translate to a screen. At 10 times magnification, a man 600 meters away looks like a man 60 meters away. You can see the texture of his jacket. You can see whether he's been sleeping. You can see his hands, whether they're carrying a weapon or a water bottle or nothing at all. You watch him for 4 minutes. 4 minutes is a long time. Your spotter confirms the identification. Rules of engagement are met. The call is yours. You control your breathing. Exhale. Pause at the natural respiratory pause. The moment between exhale and the next inhale when your body is most still. You press the trigger with the pad of your finger. Straight back. No jerk. The rifle fires. The world does not stop. The sun does not dim. Somewhere below you, a platoon of infantry soldiers continues their movement through a street they believe is clear. And it is clear because you are watching it from somewhere they don't know about. That's how it's supposed to work, but that's not the part that follows you home. You rotate back. You stand in your apartment or your base housing or your parents' kitchen and you try to explain what you've been doing. And you can't, so you don't. You say it was fine. You say the mission went well. You sit with your back to the wall in restaurants and you watch the door and you don't explain why. At the range, everything is different. The ballistic tables are no longer academic exercises. They are confirmed truths that you have tested in conditions no simulation can replicate. You know what 7.62 NATO does at 800 meters in crosswind because you've seen it. The dope book is no longer thin. It's getting heavy. A new soldier arrives in your sniper section. He's where you were. Eager, sharp, technically sound, completely unprepared for the part that isn't technical. He's your spotter now. You are the shooter. You teach him the way you were taught, through repetition, through patience, through the slow transmission of knowledge that cannot exist in a manual because it doesn't live in language. It lives in the body, in the senses, in the specific way that your hands feel when the wind is wrong and you know the shot is wrong before the spotter tells you. You teach him to read Mirage. You teach him the mil-dot formula. You teach him that the hardest part of this job is not the shot. The hardest part is hour 12. You've been watching a sector for 12 hours. You've seen nothing. Your alertness has compressed. Your eyes want to close. Your mind wants to drift. And you know, because your team leader told you and because experience has confirmed it, that the target will appear at hour 12. Not hour 3 when you're sharp. Not hour 8 when you're managing. Hour 12 when everything in your body is arguing against continued vigilance. If you're not ready at hour 12, people die. Not the target. The people you were sent to protect. You deploy again. The dope book thickens. The data accumulates. You are becoming something the military has a specific word for, though they rarely say it out loud. A proven system. 2 men, 1 rifle, 1 scope, a radio, a record, and a catalog of moments that don't leave. You're an E6 now. Staff Sergeant, you lead the team. And leadership here means something the rank structure doesn't fully capture, because the decision that lives at the center of this job, the decision to engage, is yours. Not the commander's, not the intelligence officers, not the rules of engagement documents, though you know that document cold. Yours. The rules of engagement change by theater, by operation, by political climate. You have watched them shift mid-deployment. You have received updated cards with new restrictions. Mid-mission, you have been in a hide for 36 hours watching a man you cannot shoot because the authorization has changed overnight because something happened at a diplomatic level 8,000 miles from where you're lying in the dirt. And now the shot that was legal yesterday is not legal today. You brief your commander before every mission. Target area, duration, primary hide, alternate hide, extraction plan, communication schedule, expected threats, expected ROE restrictions. He approves it. He shakes your hand, and then you and your partner disappear into a landscape where no one will help you if something goes wrong, and you will not communicate your position to anyone, because communication reveals position, and position reveals teams, and teams get compromised, and compromised teams don't come home. The loneliness is not romantic. It's not cinematic. It's operational. You are effective because you are invisible. The invisibility costs exactly as much as the effectiveness. Carlos Hathcock crawled 1,500 yards over 3 days to reach a firing position on a North Vietnamese general. 3 days, moving in inches, no food, no water. Enemy patrols passing within arm's reach of his position. He took the shot at 700 yards, confirmed the kill, and then he had to crawl 1,500 yards back. You think about that when the mission feels long. Some missions, you'll be Hathcock. You won't know which ones until you're already in them. Your dope book is a document other snipers study. It contains data from engagements across multiple theaters, multiple atmospheric conditions, multiple weapon systems. Because at this level, the rifle is no longer singular. You are expected to be lethal with a platform the way a concert pianist is expected to be lethal with any piano, regardless of make or age. The M24 in 7.62 NATO. The M110 semi-automatic in the same caliber, the M201 enhanced sniper rifle in .300 Winchester Magnum, a round that extends your effective range past 1,200 meters. The M107 Barrett in .50 BMG, which is not technically a sniper rifle, it's an anti-material system. It can disable vehicles, detonate unexploded ordnance from a distance that keeps you alive, engage targets at ranges exceeding 1,800 meters. At 1,800 meters, the bullet is in the air for nearly 4 seconds. In 4 seconds, a walking man moves 3 steps. The wind shifts. The earth continues rotating beneath the bullet's flight path. You must calculate for all of it. Wind, humidity, altitude, barometric pressure, the Coriolis effect, the curvature of the Earth itself, and you must calculate it correctly in a combat zone, under fire, with hands that must remain perfectly still. The mathematics alone fill a textbook. You do it by feel. You're also asked to teach now. Fort Moore, battalion training, advanced courses where the distances are longer, and the scenarios are designed to find whatever is left of your breaking point. You are building the next generation of a lineage that runs unbroken from the jungles of Vietnam to the mountains of Afghanistan. Every sniper in the American military descends professionally from a small number of men who codified the doctrine. Hathcock helped found the Marine Scout Sniper School after Vietnam. The men he trained the men who trained the men who trained you. The chain is specific, and now you're a link in it. What you do next determines what the chain becomes. The numbers are cold. Listen to them anyway. Simo Häyhä, Finnish farmer, Winter War, 1939. Iron-sighted Mosen Nagant. He refused a scope because the glint would reveal his position. 505 confirmed kills in fewer than 100 days. 5 kills per day average. The Soviets called him the White Death. They sent counter-snipers specifically tasked with eliminating him. The counter-snipers did not return. He was eventually shot in the face with an exploding round and survived. He lived to 96. Vasily Zaitsev, Stalingrad, 1942. 225 confirmed kills during the battle alone. Estimated 400 total. He trained over 30 snipers who went on to accumulate thousands of additional kills. His duel with the German chief sniper became one of the most documented psychological confrontations in the history of the craft. Carlos Hathcock, Vietnam, 93 confirmed kills. The number is artificially low. Confirmed kills required an officer present as witness, and officers weren't always present. Estimated actual total, 300 to 400. He once shot an enemy sniper through the man's own scope. The bullet traveled through the enemy's optic and killed him at a range where that shot should have been impossible. Chris Kyle, Iraq, 160 confirmed kills, 4 tours. Insurgents named him the Devil of Ramadi. He was killed in 2013 at a Texas shooting range by a fellow veteran in psychological crisis. The man who was arguably the most lethal sniper in American history was killed by a man who couldn't manage what the wars had done to him. That irony is not incidental. Craig Harrison, British Army, Afghanistan, 2009. 2 confirmed kills at 2,475 meters, roughly 1.5 miles. At that distance, the bullet was in the air for approximately 6 seconds. In those 6 seconds, the Earth rotated beneath the bullet's path, the wind changed, the air pressure shifted, and the target moved. Harrison accounted for all of it in a combat zone, under fire. He did it twice. These men are not representative snipers. They are statistical extremes. Outliers so far from the center of the distribution that calling them snipers is like calling Beethoven a pianist. But every sniper trains as if he might be called to become one of them, because the standard is not competence. The standard is perfection. You're out. Honorable discharge. A firm handshake. A certificate. Benefits paperwork that takes months to process. A parking lot at a VA facility somewhere in a city that doesn't feel like yours anymore. You're 32, maybe 36, maybe 40. You have spent a decade looking through a scope at human beings and making decisions about which ones stop existing. You carry that decade in your body the way a boxer carries his career in his hands. Tinnitus from thousands of rounds fired without adequate hearing protection, because hearing protection creates sound occlusion, and sound occlusion gets people killed in the field. Joint damage from 100 miles of mountain terrain with 110 pounds of gear. The back always the back and the catalog. You watch them through the scope at 10 times or 15 times or 25 times magnification. At that power, a man at 800 meters looks like a man at 50 meters. You watched him drink water. You watched him smoke a cigarette. You watched him adjust his hat against the sun. You watched him laugh at something another man said. Then you watched him die, and you confirmed the impact with your spotter. You recorded it in the dope book. Distance, wind, result, and you moved to the next target. The military trained you to depersonalize, to think in terms of threats and objectives and mission accomplishment. Some snipers carry that depersonalization intact through an entire career and into civilian life. They are the ones the psychologists write papers about because they want to understand how a human mind manages that kind of sustained compartmentalization. Many don't manage it. The PTSD rate among combat snipers is significantly elevated, not because snipers are weaker, because the intimacy of the kill, the proximity created by the optic, is categorically different from any other form of combat. An infantryman fires in a direction, a pilot drops ordnance from altitude. A sniper watches a man scratch his ear, adjust his collar, exhale, and then kills him at a distance, close enough to see the expression on his face when he falls. That specificity doesn't stay in the dope book. It comes home with you, and late at night, in an apartment that doesn't feel like home, in a city that feels like a foreign country, you'll find yourself doing what you trained to do for a decade, watching, calculating, waiting for a threat that isn't there. Right now, not hypothetically, right now. At Fort Moore, Georgia, a soldier is reporting to Building 4882 at Harmony Church. He's an E4, infantry. He's 20 years old and he qualified expert 3 consecutive times, and his platoon sergeant noticed the way your platoon sergeant noticed you, and his commander signed the recommendation, and the psychologist cleared him, and his GT score is 112 and his vision is 20/20. He doesn't know yet what a stalking lane feels like at hour 4. He doesn't know what 120-degree internal temperature inside burlap feels like while lying motionless with insects against his skin and his legs going numb, and the instructor's binoculars sweeping 40 meters from his position. He doesn't know what a dope book becomes. Not a record, not a document, a diary, written in numbers that describe every moment he decided that a specific human being would stop being alive. He doesn't know about the faces. He knows the names. Hathcock, Kyle, Hayhä. He knows them the way a young fighter knows the names of champions. With reverence, with ambition, with the clean certainty of someone who has never paid the price attached to the name. He doesn't know what the names cost. The trigger pull on the M24 is 3.5 pounds. That is the weight you feel in your hands. Everything else, the weight you carry everywhere else, doesn't have a number. It doesn't need one. You already know what it weighs.